You're jammed in a revolving door between a courthouse and a thunderstorm. Half of you wants to back out politely. The other half wants to kick the century off its hinges. Security shouts. Rain drums a verdict on the glass. You pick exit like a weapon, shove, burst into weather, and run. Main a flag, hooves dictating terms. A slow pan of your spine, two roads merging at a roundabout that never learned to yield. Birth stable cave, lantern, hay breath. Your mother's song is mostly relief. Gravity is rude. Four legs argue with the floor. Two hands proof check your existence. They swaddle your human half in blankets and your horse half in a rug. Someone whispers complicated, like they've diagnosed a sunset. You sleep by collapsing, inventing the aftertaste of standing. You dream a meadow the size of a question and an arrow leaving before you do. The elders debate names like sport. You get two, a paperwork name and a weather name. You answer to both, depending on whether the situation requires manners or speed. Your father, tall, calm, a library with hooves, walks you across a creek on a narrow footbridge. Halfway water heckles. Your front half wants a debate. Your back half wants to leap. He says, you are not an argument. You are a choir. The creek shuts up. Standing is slapstick, walking is chess, sitting, LOL, chairs are enemies, benches pretend to be kind, school is a repurposed barn beneath a poster yelling, reach for the stars at a ceiling that says no. Kids either want to braid your tail or ride you like the bus. You learn to say no with kindness and, when needed, with teeth. A guidance counselor hands you a pamphlet called Inclusion. You take it home and use it as a hoof pick. Inclusion works better when sharp. Lockers are comedy. You get two sideways and still don't fit. Books live in a haynet. Biology's easy. Your body turned the chapter headings into a group chat. Band class. The flute agrees with your lungs, but you are, by nature, several rows. The clarinets use your withers as a music stand. You charge rent, 1 apple per rehearsal. You discover running during a crisis and faith during the run. The gate breaks, a foal bolts. You follow, speed irons your edges. The earth claps. Puberty arrives like a committee meeting in a volcano. Chest widens, back thickens. Moods arrive in costume. Some days you love everyone. Some days your shadow looks accusatory. You stand in rain to find out if you're crying or just wet. Often, both. Crushes ambush with good lighting. A human poet braids your mane for research. A centaur with a slingshot laugh teaches joy's echo. You learn the art of leaning your human shoulder against a shoulder that is also a flank, which is also a prayer. Sports? Track invents categories until it sees you. Equestrian invites you, then remembers the rules. Archery says, prove it. You draw, release. Something unclenches in your ribs. The arrow leaves. You arrive. Tail care becomes a part-time job. Farrier visits feel like therapy with a rasp. He lifts each hoof like a small moon and says, we'll keep you from breaking. You say thank you with oats and not bolting. You hear the myths. Wild, wise, wine. You decide to be an inconvenient miracle. The pay is mostly carrots. The world modernizes around your hoofbeats. Yoga studios colonize barns. Someone suggests goat yoga. You smile like a warning label. Work finds you and renames itself guide, scout, mediator, courier of delicate promises. People say, there's a centaur who'll take you anywhere if you're honest about why. You let them climb on with consent and clarity. Velocity converts fear into astonishment. You pilot brides through bureaucracy and hikers through fog like wet wool. You smuggle love letters across the borderland between neighborhood and thicket. You deliver a violin to a kid who can't see over the music stand but can hear forever. You become the emergency lane of the heart. Mornings, you study wind grammar. Afternoons, you teach kids to hit the middle of things. Evenings, you find rooftops finally tall enough for your view. A city changes when your ribcage keeps time with the skyline. Love keeps happening. A laugh like a slingshot. A scar you trace with your eyes. A quiet person who never asks you to pick a half. Together, you invent cuddling with topographical maps and coffee strong enough to legalize mourning. Your collective, small, stubborn, practical, guards the seams where bramble and street argue at dusk. You map potholes like constellations of neglect. You argue with developers trying to sell a future without your tracks in it. You counter with creek sound and kid lungs. Resistance, but bake sale. At 3 a.m., hunger shows up without a grocery list. You run until the world blurs into empathy. You return with burrs and a repaired soul. Your quiet person picks leaves from your tail like stargazing with their hands. You get good at no novelty acts, no symbolic unpaid internships in someone else's myth, no riding without consent. Interpret freely. You get good at yes to being seen whole, yes to thunderstorms rehearsing on your spine, yes to the kid who asks how to be two things without breaking either. You keep a logbook of distances and small miracles. Entry number 437, returned a library book to a nest of crows. Late fee, shiny things, entry number 622. Carried a grief the size of a couch, set it down by water, and the wedding job. A filing cabinet on your back, veil in your teeth, you crash the aisle. Present papers, save love from bureaucracy. In the parking lot, someone hands you a carrot. In the limo's shine, you think, you improbable creature, you're doing fine. It starts as a pebble in your frog, and a vote of no confidence from your collective knees. Gallop becomes negotiation. Pretending becomes a skill you wish you didn't have. Your mane grays like a polite thunderhead. Hands wrinkle. Tail thins, then reconsiders. The kids you taught now teach you to rest. You learn to sit, not comfortably, but with a truce. The forest recedes. A new road calls itself necessary. You memorize asphalt by hoof feel. Young centaurs want maps, not myths. You hand them snacks and truths. You'll be adored and denied. Pack water. Ghosts gather kindly at dawn. Lovers, dogs, owls, and versions of who you might have been. They don't speak. They draft a presence around you like a cloak. Work shifts from running to pointing, from arrow to story. At trailheads you translate, this path forgives stumbles. That one doesn't suffer fools in new shoes. This one will change you and send you back to apologize. People listen the way dry ground listens to rain. Pain redecorates quietly. It leaves belongings on every surface. A sting when it rains, a throb when the past is mentioned too loudly. Your farrier keeps appointments like sacraments, filing winter out of your feet. Old wood still sings, he says, and proves it with the rasp's rhythm. Your quiet person writes down your stories for the nights your mouth is tired. They read them back to you by lamplight. You add the smell of a particular summer and the exact creak note of forgiveness. Running becomes ritual. Ridge, old oak fist, creek that failed to drown you in 2007, billboard for cheap miracles. You go slower. Notice more. Not a trade, a translation. Speed becomes a dialect of tenderness. A young centaur asks, how do you handle being looked at? You answer, decide what you're looking at when you look at them. You hand over a spare bowstring and the promise that wind still writes back. No announcement. The last day wears the costume of any other. Crisp dawn, borderland thinking, an apple that tastes like biography. You take the ritual path, breath like someone sleeping in the next room. You pause by the fence that once tore your flank and forgive the wire. You forgive the you that sprinted too hard and the you that didn't. The morning forgives you back via birds. The clearing where you almost outran yourself glows like it saved a seat. You take inventory. Aisle storm, bow tremor, fox crossing like a priest. Your mother's relieved him. Also, the dumb Tuesday you tried roller skates. The bruise laughed for weeks. Your quiet person arrives because sometimes the universe remembers. No words. You lean. The earth catches. A few people drift in, drawn, not summoned. The archer kid taller now. The poet with ink-stained fingers leaving a ribbon on the oak. The farrier setting his rasp down like a bell. A fox sitting with municipal authority. You lie down the way a cathedral might kneel. Awkward, holy, breathing becomes a shore pulling away from itself. You feel the unknitting, human fingerprints spelling goodbye, horse half telling the ground it's home. You are never halves. You are two truths politely taking turns. Shapes gather in the trees. Living, politely not, everyone holding their breath. You exhale and give it back. Truth, you become a path. The ridge keeps a track that looks like your idea. Kids follow it when they need the earth to have opinions. Lovers walk it when arguments require sky. Runners take it when clocks stop being the boss. Hooves or not, the ground remembers. New centaurs find it and realize inheritance can fit. A palm to the dirt, the hum answers. It's you, the chord that happens when contradiction refuses to split. Your bow hangs in the collective hall with a note. Use if you must, clean after. An apple appears on a rock. Your name is said without sound. Some evenings the wind rehearses your laugh against the grass. The poet reads to the clearing. The archer teaches a child the ceremony of missing on purpose. Learning the weight of release without the wound of aim. Birth, the first argument between gravity and grace. Growth, you sprinted through chairs and names and found your weather. Maturity, you carried people you didn't need to because carrying taught you how to set them down. Decline, you negotiated with time like a landlord and sometimes you won. End, you lay down in a clearing that remembered you and the world kept running. Exactly what you taught it, not a moral. A circle doing its circle thing. Hoofbeats fade into laughter. Final shot, dusk. A kid with a bow. The target is the sky. They don't shoot, they listen. The path warms. The wind practices your name in the grass.